Hi everyone, this is Mrs. Snowbeck. Today we are going to do Unit 3, Lesson 3. It's about isosceles triangles and equilateral triangles. But before we start, I want you to know the shortest side of any triangle is always across from the smallest angle, and the longest side of any triangle is always across from the largest angle. So if we find the smallest angle in this triangle, it's 34 degrees. If you go across the triangle from that, that will be your shortest side. So your shortest side of this particular triangle would be segment AC or side AC. Now if you want to find your longest side, you're going to go across from your largest angle. So our largest angle is the 78. If we go across from that, side BC would be the longest side of your triangle. Here's some vocabulary about isosceles triangles. Remember, isosceles triangles have two congruent sides. Theoretically or technically, the definition says that it is a triangle with two or more congruent sides. However, if I see a triangle with more than two congruent sides, that means it has three congruent sides, and I call that equilateral. So for our class purposes, an isosceles triangle will have two congruent sides. The two congruent sides are called legs. And then the third side is called the base. And the angles that are down by the base are called the base angles. And the angle where the two congruent sides meet, that is called the vertex angle. The isosceles triangle theorem says this: if two sides of a triangle are congruent, then two angles opposite of those sides are congruent. So look at over here at this picture, the two tick marks on the sides. Side AC has a tick mark and side BC has a tick mark. If you go across from them, angle 2 and angle 1 would have to be the same size, because if you have two sides that are congruent, you'll have two angles that are congruent. So if side AC is congruent to side BC, then angle 1 is going to be congruent to angle 2. The converse is also true. If you have two angles that are congruent in a triangle, then if you go across from those two angles, the two sides that are opposite of those angles will also be congruent. So in the second example, if angle 1 is congruent to angle 2, then segment DE will be congruent to segment FE. So just remember, if two sides are equal, two angles will be equal, and vice versa. Number 1, find x and y. So right away I notice the y's, and I see that there's tick marks on those two sides. So this side over here on the left is 4y minus 2, and this side over here on the right is 2y plus 2. They should be congruent because they each had one tick mark. I'll just erase this so you can see the tick marks a little better again. And so what I would do is 4y minus 2 equals 2y plus 2, and I would solve this. So solving for y, we have 2y minus 2 equals 2. Add the 2 back over, and we have 2y equals 4. Divide by 2, y equals 2. But we still have to solve for x. And I notice x is marking an angle. So down here, this angle, I'm putting it in yellow, is 6x plus 8. Now I know something about triangles. The sum of the three angles of every triangle is 180. So this top angle is 80. If I do 180 minus 80, I have 100 degrees left. However, remember, if you have two sides equal, if you go across from those two sides, the two angles should be equal. So 100 divided by 2 is 50, which means those two angles down at the bottom should be 50 degrees and 50 degrees. So 6x plus 8 will equal 50. Minus the 8, 6x equals 42. Divide by 6, x equals 7. And we are done. Take a minute and think about number 2 on your own. Can you find PN? I see two angles that are congruent. I have a little red curve. If I go across from it, I see an 11. I see another red curve. If I go across from it, I don't see anything, but it would also have to be 11 centimeters. So PN is 11 centimeters. 2 equal angles means 2 equal sides. Please pause the video and try number 3. When you're done, unpause to see if you got it right. In this case, the two congruent angles, if I go across from them, that means the 2z minus 15, it's a minus, is going to equal the 9. Add 15 to both sides. 2z equals 24. Z equals 12. Equilateral triangles. Each angle of an equilateral triangle is blank degrees. Think about 180 divided evenly by 3. You get 60. So each angle in an equilateral triangle will be 60 degrees. It'll be 60, 60, and 60. That means that all equilateral triangles are also equiangular. Number 3. I notice I have two sides that are both 5 centimeters. If I go across from them, that means the two angles across from them will be the same size. I don't know how big they are yet, but I know the 3 angles in every triangle add up to 180. So if I do 180 minus 60, I have 120 left for angles P and R. They have to be the same size, so if I divide it in half, I get 60. Interesting, because what that tells me is all 3 angles are actually 60 degrees. So angle R is 60 degrees, angle P is 60 degrees. And if all 3 angles are 60 degrees, that means all 5 sides have to be congruent as well. So the distance from P to R has to be 5 centimeters. Will you guys pause the video and try number 4? So I see the Y's right away have tick marks on them. If I highlight them in red, for instance, there's a tick mark there and a tick mark there. Those two sides, side DF and side FE, have to be congruent. And so, in other words, the 6y plus 3 has to equal the 8y minus 5. Subtract your 6y. 3 equals 2y minus 5. Add 5. 8 equals 2y, divide by 2, y equals 4. So we got y. Now we need to do x. So x, I notice this corner, F, is 4x minus 8. I also notice this corner, E, is 4x minus 8. However, if I look at the two congruent sides, E is across from this tick mark on DF, and D is across from the other tick mark. So D and E have to be congruent, which means this would also have to be 4x minus 8. Well, that means all 3 angles are 4x minus 8. If they're all 3 the same, they have to equal 60. And so I'm going to say 4x minus 8 equals 60. Add 8. 4x equals 68. Divide by 4, and x equals 17. Again, pause the video, try numbers 5 and 6, and then unpause to see if you got them right. Across from the 2 tick marks, I should have congruent angles. So if B is 2x, C should be 2x. All three angles are then 2x, so 2x has to be 60 because 180 divided evenly by 3 is 60. So divide by 2, x is 30. To find y, what I know is all 3 angles are the same, so that means all 3 sides have to be the same. And so what I can do now is I can say the 3 inches is going to equal the 4y minus 5. So I can say 3 equals 4y minus 5, add 5, get 8 equals 4y. Divide by 4. 2 equals y. And then finally, last but not least, number 6. Again, I see 2 tick marks go across from them. That means 2 angles will be equal. 180 minus that 60 leaves us 120. Take the 120, cut it in half. That means each of these angles down here has to be 60, which tells us all 3 angles are 60. So therefore, all 3 sides are congruent. So the 3x plus 8 will equal the 4x minus 4. This side right here will equal this side, and it will equal this side. So all 3 sides will be equal. So pick the 2 that we have marked and set them equal to each other. And then solve. So minus your 3x. 8 equals x minus 4. Add your 4. 12 equals x. And you're done. So that's it for Unit 3, Lesson 3. Please try the practice. And then if you have questions, send me a Schoology message or let me know. And have a great night.